Alrighty guys, I hope that you guys are having a spectacular day. If you guys would please give this video a thumbs up if you guys do really enjoy it. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. Also, do me the biggest favor of all, hit that bell notification button. That way you guys don't miss out on future videos and streams here on the channel. And as always, we're going to be continuing talking about Star Wars The Mandalorian Season 3. This is going to be my coverage of Episode 7, titled The Spies. If you guys have missed out on my coverage of past videos for past episodes or seasons, you guys can find that all in either the All Things Star Wars playlist or in the playlist that has everything for Clone Wars, Rebels, Bad Batch, and of course Mandalorian. And first two things I want to discuss is probably the two negatives I want to talk about when it comes to this episode, and then we'll jump into most of the positives. First of all, like I said, this episode is titled The Spies. It does not really mesh well with the events that transpire in this episode necessarily. Obviously, there is some spy things going on because the Imperial Remnant has infiltrated the New Republic for information on things that they need in order for the Empire to survive and become the First Order. But it just doesn't really mesh well with everything else. Like, there's only like maybe a 5-8 minute segment of this almost hour-long episode, and if I would have called this episode anything, it would have been like the return of Gideon or something like that, because it would have fit better with the events that transpire within the episode. Also, the show continues to focus less and less on Grogu being in this episode. Again, pointless. If he wasn't in it, it wouldn't have affected the plot or any other characters. And Din Djarin basically is still being sidelined in his own show this episode. And this season seems to be focused more on Bo-Katan retaking Mandalore. Obviously, we felt like that was going to be something that happened because of her introduction within Season 2. But I feel like she should have gotten her own show showing her doing that. Like the Bo-Katan show, like, you know, how Ahsoka's getting her own show. And I just feel like it's weird that Mandalorian Season 3 is not focusing on the actual Mandalorian that we started the adventure with Season 1, Episode 1. Why is it making Din Djarin like a side character instead of the main character in his own show? It's almost like what they did with the Book of Boba Fett when it came to Episode 5. It's like, okay, no one really cares about Book of Boba Fett. No one cares about Boba Fett's backstory, so we need to put in the Mandalorian to replace him because he's more popular. Bo-Katan's kind of the same thing. They're doing the same thing in that regard. The problem is Bo-Katan's not that really of an interesting character. She's a very one-dimensional character, and they're trying to make her have more layers, but it just doesn't work when it's not her show. it just makes you question, why are we caring about her so much? Unless Din Djarin and Bo-Katan marry, I just don't care. I don't care. I understand she's supposed to be the rightful ruler of Mandalore, and that's fine, but spending nearly an entire season building to that point and getting to that point just feels like a waste of time, and it's boring. Things from the past 6 episodes and things from past seasons of 1 and 2 finally start to begin paying off. Moff Gideon finally arrives and returns in action after being rescued in the past episode, obviously. Everyone's prediction, including my own, being that some sort of Mandalorian faction rescued him, was wrong, because Moff Gideon ended up, after he glassed the Mandalorian home planet of Mandalore, he ended up setting up an Imperial base to mine the Beskar alloy and created stormtroopers with jetpacks with Mandalorian armor, including for himself. And so those are the forces, the Imperial jetpack stormtroopers with Mandalorian armor. They are the ones that rescued Moff Gideon in the past episode. So, clarifying who actually saved him, it was not Mandalorians, it was stormtroopers with Mandalorian Beskar armor equipped. So, there you go. This episode also sets up more shows and upcoming sequel trilogy events, including more teases, of course, the creation of Snoke, and of course the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn. So they tease that, and of course we get to see some non-canon characters within this episode as well. In order for Gideon's plans to succeed in keeping Mandalore and, of course, helping to create the First Order. Him and the rest of the Imperial remnant have to wipe out all the remaining Mandalorians and stop them from retaking Mandalore, the Mandalorian homeworld. I also thought it was really cool in this episode we get to see the Covert and, of course, the Death Watch remnants having to settle their differences and become one army. IG-11 is officially destroyed and just tweaked in a sense. That way, IG-12 is revealed. And while I think it is kind of a cool and interesting addition, I think it's a strange addition, having Grogu operating basically a Terminator. It's just kind of odd. It does not, like, for me, at the beginning parts of the episode when IG-12 is introduced, it just did not feel Star Wars to me. It felt something in another galaxy, no pun intended. But it did warm up to me in the constant yes, no, yes, yes, yes. I'm just like, I get Grogu is supposed to be a kid and just supposed to be obnoxious, but I felt like they kind of took a little too far, in my opinion. Got some good humorous moments within it, and towards the end of the episode, the Mandalorian fleet all arrives at the homeworld. Finally, we get to what we've been wanting for the past 7 episodes. So they finally arrive on Mandalore to retake it, but of course they run into trouble, including a monster, and then the stormtroopers with the Beskar armor, with the jetpacks, and of course Moff Gideon. We also do end up learning how Moff Gideon took the Darksaber from Bo-Katan and led to the Mandalorian Purge during the conclusion chapters of the Clone Wars. And very fantastic action sequences, of course, throughout, towards the end, and a very emotional conclusion. And I'm actually excited to see how Season 3 ends. I'll be honest with you guys, episodes 1 through 6 of Season 3 has been very bad, mediocre, average. This episode is the only episode so far that I want to give it a 10 out of 10, and I'm excited for our next episode, but because the show still is focusing less on Grogu and Din Djarin, and Grogu doesn't really need to exist, so it's not focusing on Din Djarin, I'm going to give this episode a 9.5 out of 10. I'm excited for next week's episode. I'm excited to see what they're going to do to wrap up Season 3. I'm really excited. And unfortunately, because Season 3 hasn't been getting a lot of good reviews, sorry, and it hasn't been getting people to just even watch it. A lot of people felt like Season 2 kind of just concluded, the story of The Mandalorian in general. And I can understand that sentiment. And people that didn't watch the Book of Boba Fett, and they're jumping into this, I'm sure they're confused even more. But I would definitely give Season 3 a try. It's not the best season of Star Wars ever, and it's not the best season of Mandalorian, but it is definitely decent enough action, and I will say, I think that you're going to need to watch this season if you plan on watching things like Ahsoka and be able to understand where those shows kind of start off from, because that's what this season seems to be doing. Kind of like how Season 2 set up the Book of Boba Fett. This season seems to be setting up the Ahsoka show and Acolyte and stuff of that nature. So, let me know in the comment section down below, are you guys still watching? And are you guys excited for the Season 3 finale coming out next week? I am, and I will be reviewing it for you guys, so look forward to that. Have a great day. Bye, guys.